Kitchen Confidential by Anthony Bourdain, the one that became a super bestseller that sort of shot him into more stardom. It's a really interesting book. First off, it's narrated by the author, so it's really nice to have that authentic touch. Anthony is a really verbose man. I didn't know that about him. I know him as a celebrity chef and his travel cooking shows or his travel shows where he eats things. But he read a lot as a child. He's very intellectual, so the book is really well written. So it's very he's able to paint a really quick picture for the time growing up. There's a lot of different places that he describes, a lot of people that he can't name. So he has to just give you the sort of paint a picture of like a person or a place or a personality. He has to do it really quickly, and he uses a lot of fun ways to sort of talk about things. And I really like the way the book is written. It's very punchy, it's very quick. But we're basically starting with him as a child, going on vacation with his parents and being left in the car because his parents went to the really nice restaurant and they knew that the children would not like the restaurant, so they left him in the car. And then young Anthony decided, hey, I can like food too, so he starts eating everything on vacation, and he talks about his first two really big experiences with food that sort of fostered in this love of cuisine. And then we sort of skip forward to his teen years where he wasn't doing much except drugs and stuff and weed and with a girlfriend. So someone hooked him up with a dishwashing job and he learned how to do that a little bit, and then eventually he would move on to line cook work and all the myriad different places he worked at. He's got a lot of stories under his belt because he's had a very varied career at different places. He's worked at restaurants that start to fail, or he knows they're going to fail and he works there anyway because he's going to get money, or places that have a lot of clashing personalities, a lot of really interesting chapters. Some of the chapters aren't as interesting. There's one where he talks about his daily stuff as a chef. That was probably the least exciting chapter because it was just kind of like a schedule of his day. However, there's some really great insights. There's a section where he talks about don't order fish on Monday, which is really popular. There's an interesting mentor of his called Bigfoot. He calls nicknames Bigfoot because he can't, but he's this tall, bald man who used to be I think a sports coach or something, and so he does stats with everything. So when he orders food and inventory from places, he measures it by the gram, and if people try to screw him over, he uses a super passive aggressive thing, and he has this army of porters who know how to do electrical work and plumbing and stuff, so he doesn't have to rely on specialty people. Really interesting stories about that. And the part where he talks about all the failing restaurants he's worked at is really sad too. But there's also a really great chapter of another part of his life where he was working at this Provincetown restaurant where he thought he was cocky and young, and he got embarrassed basically at work, and he vowed to never be in that situation again. So he went to cooking school and learned all this new stuff, came back, and then all the different restaurants he's worked at. The book sort of goes to his trip to Japan, where he gets to try all this cool stuff because he doesn't know anything about Japan. He was sent there, and he basically, that was the sort of thing that sort of gave him that sort of wanderlust to start doing a travel show where he'd go to different places and eat the different foods. So the book is very informative. It's really personal. It's no BS, kind of prose, really punchy and fun. You get a little bit of insight. Even if you're not interested in the food industry, it's still worth it, checking out if you just want to learn more about the guy himself, or just you want to dip your toes into what his experience was. He's got a lot of interesting stories, and that's what matters. I give Kitchen Confidential a 4 out of 5.